freedoms under fire. Source here is Reuters.com. States certify. So as we come off of 1 week and go into the next, we're still talking about this election and the results, and our president won't give up. I mean, you're out. So these key states have begun to certify these election results. Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. And these were states asked to do recounts. There's others. But Georgia has done a recount with the deadline, results being the deadline was Wednesday. Wisconsin conducted a recount, and the results increased Biden's votes by 87 votes. I know that's a small amount of votes, but it didn't change anything. The overall arching issue is Biden won. And then you have most of the battleground states that Biden won, including Pennsylvania, previously certified their results already. Together with the results from states where the outcome is not in dispute, right? Biden has secured enough votes in the state-by-state electoral college to win the presidency. Game, set, match. Let it go. But our president cannot. He just will not give up the ghost. And it's ridiculous. We're waiting on the Electoral College to make it official and vote. And that's on the 14th. So from now until then, a couple more weeks, right? We're going to have to hear and see this guy talk about nonsense. And to be quite truthful here, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of talking about him. I'm tired of hearing people try to explain and give excuses and justification for this guy's behavior. You're out. And even his behavior, still, the whole time, 4 years, has not been presidential at all. And folks, what we're witnessing is a fire sale at the White House, a fire sale. You know, some of the ladies may relate to it better if I say a garden party. But regardless of what you call it, this is what we're witnessing, a sell-off. Trump is melting down now for all to see. And he's now calling out the FBI and the DOJ, which is the Department of Justice, stating that they have been MIA, missing in action, on his election claims. They're moving on, along, and on to the next president. This is what he said. Yes, sir. Yes, that's what they're doing. And so have the people. If you didn't know, the Trump administration has had 30 election lawsuits dismissed. mean, he's firing everyone, which is normal for staff to change with transition of a new administration. But friend or foe status to all that oppose the election victory won in his head. It's sad. It's sad to see a 70-year-old man, a 70-year-old president go out like this. He's been known for being a shrewd businessman, successful for the most part. I mean, I guess it's business to go through bankruptcy and these loopholes and evade taxes and all those things, right? But he jumped into a political arena. And it is real estate, these deals, The Apprentice, all of that's in wreckage now. Your legacy is tarnished and is crumbling before you. The world is a stage. And you're going out like this. Again, it's not about the L. Because in contests, debates, elections, all of this, right? There's a winner in any game. So this is a game. Any game, there's a winner and a loser, a victor, right? So one of them has to win and one of them has to lose. And in this game, there's no draw. There's nothing wrong with losing. But you got to accept the results of the game. You wanted to play, and you're out. 306. That's all. 306. It's done. Now we have to wait for the Electoral College to vote because they can do some funny business here too. Again, they don't have to vote and go along with what the popular vote is. They've done it before. We've witnessed it before. Gore and Bush, we've witnessed it before. We've seen it. It can happen. It's not out of there. But listen to the people. Even with Bush and Gore, you should have listened to the people. He's out. He lost the popular vote. But man, where is the integrity, the dignity? Where is it? It's not there. And it's sad. It's hard to watch him like this. He was cringeworthy before. This is just a train wreck, a melting down. He may need to be committed after this. He's looking crazy out here. And to sit and watch him bloviate about the stock market at 30,000, that has never happened. Come on. People are dying. And it's part of your responsibility. You're to blame for some of it. A lot of it. But you're to blame for it. And not wanting to just don't let the next administration take credit for the vaccines. That's all. So you're holding on like this for the credit? With vaccines. It happened under your administration. We know. We know. So if that's all you want is the credit for that, and then you'll move on out, well, you have the credit. But the truth and the facts line up with that. Your problem is truth and facts have never been part of your resume, part of your repertoire, your weaponry. You don't care about the truth or the facts. So the vaccines, it did happen under your watch. Sean J, kudos to you. We give you the Harry Potter clap right here. But let's talk about the vaccine, sir. NBC.com, YahooNews.com, sources here, vaccines. So as December 10th approaches, pre-positioning has begun. The first shipments of Pfizer's vaccine are in transit to the U.S. via flights from Belgium. Did you know that? Now, of course, for security purposes, the vaccine will be stored at an undisclosed location in Michigan. I shouldn't even know that much if it's for security reasons, but nonetheless. Now, Moderna boasts a 94% effective rate, and it's seeking for its own EUA, which is emergency use approval, right? Now, Moderna has a meeting with the FDA on the 17th. So Pfizer is the 10th. Moderna is the 17th. Now, projecting the vaccine access to be to all that want it by June 2021. That's the projection. Now, a panel at the CDC has met this week to decide who gets the vaccine first, whether it be first responders, ladies, babies, and children, whomever. However, the CDC has decided that they're going to oversee that portion. Now, the UK has already pushed forward granting emergency use and began releasing vaccine use measures to the public. It gets interesting when you talk to people or listen to them, discussions are happening, and they share their honest, truthful perspective on a vaccine. And a lot of them, well, I'm not taking the vaccine. I don't trust it. Or it's, yeah, I'll be first in line, or, and then some people are just iffy. I don't know how you feel. But this is going to be a process if you're eligible. And then the CDC decides, once that you're eligible, what wave, what batch of vaccine you get to partake of. But some people are skeptical. I myself don't feel comfortable with taking this vaccine just yet. I think it is heavily rushed under the circumstances. We understand why. But it's heavily rushed, and I don't enjoy knee-jerk reactions to anything. I think you should calculate and then map out what you're going to do and how can you your approach, and then go to work on whatever it is. But a study has been released from MIT. MIT, if you don't know, is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So this study is raising further concerns about vaccine effectiveness. These vaccines share a potential weakness, and researchers used artificial intelligence, or AI, and machine learning to examine a vaccine similar to these big developers, and found that while less than 0.5% of white trial participants didn't respond strongly to the vaccine, nearly 10% of Asians participants didn't. Now, this could mean people of color or Asian ancestry could have a slightly increased risk of vaccine effectiveness. Now, the study's senior author, David Gifford, said in an article accompanying the study that a lack of diversity in the vaccine trial pools may have led developers to calibrate the vaccine to a specific version of human genes. White genes, white people's genes in particular. MIT is saying this. Now, MIT researchers they did offer a potential solution. And that would be adding a small number of additional COVID-19 peptides, which are strings of amino acids that make up proteins, which in turn make up a coronavirus, to a given dose of the vaccine. This is what MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab writes. So MIT is saying this, a reputable, respected university, right? School. And that lab is world renowned. So when we talk about got to go into data and trust the experts, well, I would lean towards what they're saying here. Dare I say, in plain what they're communicating here, that maybe this vaccine has been tailored to white genes? Is that what I'm getting from this? Is that what you're getting from it? That would cause you to pause, right? So wait a minute. And you want me to rush down and sign up and offer my arm and my immune system for that? Because if it isn't effective for Asians and black people, right? It would harm my immune system. That would be the equivalency of not taking one at all. So that's the ultimate sugar pill, right? The ultimate placebo is what you want. I've yet to hear any other experts refute this study from MIT. I know it's early. This study was just released 2 days ago. But they all over everything else the day of, an hour later, or nothing, crickets. Interesting in and of itself. Freedom's under fire. I mean, how do you feel about the findings of the study? How do you feel about the vaccine? There's no wrong answers here. And no judgment. But we have to look at it from all angles. And I think that we all collectively should just look at the fight we're in and what are the options, and then choose the best option. Even if now if that means you decide to take the vaccine, no problem. Or if you decide not to, no problem. As long as you are fully informed on that decision. No one wants to be blindsided with anything, but especially with this. We were blindsided already with it coming here, this virus, this outbreak. But don't be ambushed and wrecked with the potential solution either. But the situation is causing civil unrest. People are defying stay-at-home orders. They're defying the curfews. People are upset. They're afraid, they're panicking and losing their homes, losing their jobs. But let's take a little ride to Michigan, shall we? Restaurant rulings. Source here is clickondetroit.com and wxyz.com. Restaurant rulings. So Michigan restaurant owners are considering defying state COVID-19 regulations and reopening for indoor dining if the order is extended beyond 3 weeks. The owner of N. Diamo wrote a letter urging restaurants to unify and reopen if Whitmer, who's the governor, and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services extend the ban on indoor dining past the original expiration date of December 8th. So in this letter, he writes, "We need to band together and fight this closure. Our industry cannot survive another long-term closure. We are stronger if we stand together and use our strength to fight back." She decided to close restaurants again. The malls are packed with holiday shopping. Hair salons and gyms can remain open, yet our restaurants are closed. He does have a point. And I think that is where the static stems from. It's the power to say what's essential and what's not. And then eating in a tent versus eating in a concrete brick and mortar building is different. Like, it's convoluted. I'm glad that they're pushing back. But this is what happens when you leave people without a choice and you begin to do things that you impose your will without explaining what's really happening. Now, Governor Whitmer has responded to this letter, and she says, "I don't want them to have to make tough, awful decisions that could jeopardize their workforce and their customers, because I want them to be successful, and I know they need help, and I'm trying to give that help. I would discourage people from willfully breaking the law, always, no matter what the law is on any subject. I would strongly discourage that. But I think in this moment, we need to give one another a little empathy and a little bit of grace and recognize the gravity of the situation." Well put, well said, Governor Whitmer. But a federal judge, Paul Maloney, denied a preliminary injunction that would have allowed bars and restaurants to reopen with the COVID-19 restrictions. So the judge ain't having none of that empathy. Saying, look, law is the law. Upholding with the health and safety. No. Close. All sides of this have a valid point, a valid perspective. Or we got to meet in the middle? Like the intentions on all sides are on the surface are well intentioned, these moves. But when you do not explain and have a clear direction of action, course of action, you're going to get a mutiny. You're going to get resistance. And this stems from leadership. Attitude reflects leadership. And from the beginning of this, the leadership was MIA himself. Golfing, not taking this thing seriously, taking it light. And so this is a trickle-down effect, and it has these governors, imposing themselves on the state. That's why restrictions are different in every state, which is all the way around holistically. That's part of America's problem. These ordinances and these laws, they're different in each state because each state has its own mini constitution that is based upon the country's constitution from 1776. But no matter what it is, age of consent, drug charges and offenses, gun laws, even employment. That's why, minimum wage is different in each state. Like, that's ridiculous. Because of the state's constitution and how they can run things themselves. You need to revisit that. And I don't care how long the process is, how lengthy it is, how painstakingly no. Do it, blow it up. Even the Electoral College, just the whole thing, just revisit all of it, update it. And speaking of sorry, source here is vulture.com. Cyrus is sorry. Best New Artist Grammy nominee. Noah Cyrus, right, has issued an apology for using racially insensitive language in an Instagram story where she's caping for Harry Styles. So on Wednesday, this is the younger Cyrus sister, right, placed herself into a long debate about Harry Styles' Vogue cover. Didn't see the cover? Do you know who Harry Styles is? Well, on this cover, he's wearing a dress. So let me say it plainly. Harry Styles is a man and identifies as a man. He's wearing a dress on the cover of Vogue magazine. And you have a political correspondent, socially aware, unaware, chocolate woman Candace Owens. Now, I don't really care for Candace Owens, right? But she was right on with this one. She didn't appreciate this and went back and forth on social media. I don't know if it was Twitter or Instagram, whatever. And here comes the problem with the Cyrus. So, as a response to whatever Candace was going back and forth with, she says, he wears this dress better than any of you, nappy ass hoes. That's what she wrote. She captioned that under the photo of Harry Styles in this dress from the Vogue photo shoot. I guess one of the other looks that they had that didn't make the cover. Now, she posted this on her Instagram story on Wednesday. Now, the significant point here with I'm saying story and not a post is because a story disappears after 24 hours. We're going to come back to that. Now, after she posts this photo, Cyrus was criticized on social media for her use of the word nappy. And then on Thursday, she returned to Instagram to issue an apology. I'm mortified that I used the term without knowing the context and history. But I know now, and I'm horrified and truly sorry, Cyrus wrote. I will never use it again. Thank you for educating me. I in no way meant to offend anyone. I am so sorry. Noah, Cyrus, I'm so sorry that I don't care. What are you talking about? You didn't know nappy ass hoes was offensive. Really? You know it was offensive when you first learned that term. That's why you said it to a black woman. What do you mean I didn't know? You're mortified that they were dragging you on Twitter and Instagram. That's why you're mortified that we knew and we heard and we didn't like it, and it was other white people that told you about it too. That's why you're mortified. And as many chocolate boyfriends as your sister has had, Miley, with all her twerking, you gonna tell me you don't know the plight and the gravity of that? Or maybe you got it from her. Or maybe it was Father Billy Ray. Achy breaky heart. But what are you talking about? I'm so, you nappy asshole, I'm so sorry. Didn't you watch anything that happened with Don Imus? Didn't you? Come on. And caping for Harry Styles, a man in a dress? I don't know. What's his orientation? Is he homosexual? Is he transgender? Is he heterosexual? I don't know. I don't really care like that, respectfully. He's in a dress. I don't enjoy seeing a man in a dress anyway. But that ain't the point. She up here caping for him. And then you're going to toss around black women that way, black people? Noah, Cyrus. Sit down. I'm so sorry. Let me read that again. I am mortified that I used the term without knowing the context and history. But I know now. And I am mortified and truly sorry. I will never use it again. Thank you for educating me. You mean thank you for dragging me on Twitter and Instagram, right? Sit down. So source here, NewYorkTimes.com. That is the NewYorkTimes.com. The Scouts payouts. Let's talk about it. So after more than 95,000 people have filed sex abuse claims against the Boy Scouts of America, the organization said it must reach a settlement in its ongoing bankruptcy case by next summer, or it may no longer have the cash to continue operating. Let me read that again. After more than 95,000 people have filed sex abuse claims against the Boy Scouts of America, the organization said it must reach a settlement in its ongoing bankruptcy case by next summer, or it may no longer have the cash to continue operating. That's a lot of cases of sexual abuse. The Boy Scouts announced the total number of cases earlier this week after a deadline, we spoke about it a few weeks ago, a deadline passed for victims to come forward as part of the organization's ongoing Chapter 11 bankruptcy case. Do you remember now? The volume of claims exceeded expectations of the victims' lawyers and could further complicate a restructuring process that is coming at the worst possible time for the Boy Scouts. Yeah, poor Boy Scouts, right? Of America. Now, less than a month after the Boy Scouts filed for bankruptcy in February, the pandemic halted many in-person scouting programs, weakening membership that has already been on the decline. Excuse me. The Boy Scouts revenue this year is down 50% compared to last year, and the organization has been forced to lay off 20% of its full-time staff. This is Jessica Beutler, an attorney working on behalf of the organization, said in a bankruptcy court hearing Wednesday. Meanwhile, the bankruptcy process has cost the Boy Scouts more than $41 billion so far, she said. Now, in a statement, the Boy Scouts of America said it was devastated by the number of lives impacted by past abuse in scouting and moved by the bravery of those who came forward. We intentionally developed an open, accessible process to reach survivors and help them take an essential step toward receiving compensation. The response we have seen from survivors has been gut-wrenching. We are deeply sorry. 95,000 claims filed. Anyone that has had to deal with sexual abuse with the Boy Scouts, anyone that has had sexual abuse in the past at any point in their lives, nothing but light and love to you. That is a horrible thing. Shouldn't happen, but that doesn't change that it did happen. So I want to take this time to say that you don't deserve that, and I'm sad that that has happened to you. Truly. Light and love to you. $95,000 people have filed a sex abuse claim against the Boy Scouts of America. And we're talking about bankruptcy. Oh, this happened at the worst time for them. Well, what about the 95,000? And then the other thousands that didn't say anything or haven't come forward? I get it. But your bankruptcy is happening because you out here abusing folks. No, cause and effect. So this was printed by the New York Times, and of course you can see the spin that it puts on it, like, oh, now you're trying to flip it, that you weren't that bad? No. You have been. You've been at this for decades. You perfected it. Until you had a generation that said enough is enough. And then now your house of cards are coming down. Close it, shut it down. Shut it down. This isn't like you made some mistakes in the past and you have turned from your wicked ways. No. What happened is you got caught. And such is the case with any abusers. You don't stop. Pedophiles, they don't stop until they get caught. And mind you, caught is, I'm using that term loosely for whatever happens to them. You get caught. You're stopped. That's how it happens. And I don't want to tarnish your viewpoint, your long-time golden age of what you remember about Bill Cosby, but the only reason why he's not out here still doing it is because he was caught. R. Kelly. Caught. What I don't understand is how is Woody Allen still walking around here? Jeffrey Epstein. Deceased, but caught. Ghislaine Maxwell, caught. That's why he ain't out doing it still. But no one feels sorry for the Boy Scouts of America. No. You have hurt people and devastated their livelihoods. You're devastated by the number of lives impacted by past abuse? Well, their lives have been devastated by your blind eye and participation of the abused. And you're moved by the bravery of those who came forward? Well, so are we. I am. I don't have to pay them, no. You do. Because I didn't do it. I'm not responsible. You're trying to get a bly? You're trying to get a pass? You're trying to get some empathy? You won't get any over here? No. Pay the money, pay your bankruptcy, however that goes, and then go back under a rock. Clean house. Blow it up. We want to get rid of myths and misconceptions. Well, mental mapping. Source here is the TrueSize.com and NationalGeographic.com. Mental mapping. So there are some of the most common geographic misconceptions that are both surprising and surprisingly hard to correct. Most of us have a rough map of the world in our minds that we use anytime we think about places. Can we agree there? Would you agree with that? But these mental maps aren't necessarily reliable. In fact, many of the maps in our heads share the same errors, some of which are quite large and surprisingly resistant to correction. For instance, we all know that South America is south of North America, right? But you may be surprised by the fact that virtually the entire South American continent is east of Florida. There are lots of possible reasons for geographical misconceptions like this one. Mental maps are necessarily simplifications. And the misplaced Americas may be partly a result of their names. After all, it's not called Southeast America, right? Another issue with maps are misplaced continents. So most of Africa is north of the equator, though on many mental maps, it is mostly in the southern hemisphere directly across the Atlantic from South America. Keep it real. You thinking about it now, and it is so from your mental map, right? Now, North Americans tend to think of Africa as located almost entirely in the southern hemisphere, similar to South America. But in reality, 2/3 of Africa is north of the equator. Africa actually extends northward to about the same latitude as Norfolk, Virginia. Did you know that? Europe is also often placed much farther south on mental maps than it really is, appearing directly across the Atlantic from the contiguous United States. But it is actually lines up better with Canada. Paris is another is further north than Montreal. Barcelona is at a similar latitude as Chicago, and Venice lines up with Portland, Oregon. Now, I know it's a lot because we're going somewhere and we're going against what you remember and what you will swear is the truth. But we know when it comes to maps and mental mapping, size matters. Locations aren't the only way our mental maps can be wrong. We also have misconceptions about the relative size of things. This may be due in part to the nature of two-dimensional maps. Flattening a three-dimensional globe onto a flat surface isn't possible without some distortion. I know you flat earthers are out there. Respectfully, whether the earth is flat or not, the key here when we talk about maps is a globe map is a globe. So flattening a three-dimensional globe, you're going to have some distortion. Let's continue. This is obvious for maps that use certain projections. So a projection is the way of representing the Earth's curved surface on a flat map, such as the popular Mercator projection. You know the Mercator projection, right? This projection is coned and cylindrical. It was originally used for navigation purposes, but later became a staple in the classrooms to teach world geography. So it's flawed. It is controversial today because it does not accurately depict the size of the Earth's northern and southern latitudes. This is why Greenland appears to be similar in size to all South America on Mercator maps, which in fact South America is more than 8 times larger than Greenland. Brazil isn't that impressive on maps, on many maps, but in reality it's bigger than the entire United States and almost as large as Canada. So there's on this map the central meridian, which is selected by the map maker itself. So it already has a narrative and a slant put on it from the jump, from the central meridian. Now there's great distortion in high latitudes. And when you look at this map, the equator touches the cylinder if cylinder is tangent. So reasonably true shapes and distances within 15 degrees of the equator. So it's distorted. And then this model, when you're in school, you're learning this, which is why you think that the United States is the greatest nation, because it's put on maps and it's bigger on the maps in school. So it gives you a false sense of entitlement. The bravery is there, and then when you look down, that's why when we say third world countries, there's a nose up in the air kind of thing, or look at those poor little things there. Well, it's because of how the map is done. It's the psychology of it, and it's on purpose to build a narrative. And if we can control how you think, we can control your actions. And that's the piece there. Perception controls. So 90% of you listening, you've been introduced to a Mercator projection map. In the 1920s, that was the map. So that's all of them up until probably 2000. And in some schools, because the books are old, is still floating around there. It has been the only map. Similarly to like the Gregorian calendar. You don't know about the Gregorian calendar, you know that's the calendar. Well, that's the calendar that we use. So, I know when I was in school, this was the map. And this shaped my perception until I began to seek out knowledge on my own. Now, I want to point out that the source, thetruesize.com, you do that as one word, thetruesize.com. You can move around, when you go to that site, you can move around continents and land masses and onto other ones to see the relative size, the true size of it. Pretty cool. Check it out when you get time. fnxfit.com. All natural sleep aids, pre and post workout shakes. You also have super greens. Try the new recovery powder available in raspberry lemonade, grape limeade, snow cone, and watermelon burst. Use promo code Moonbeam for 15% off your order. Again, go to fnxfit.com. I'm Jay Daniel. This has been Moonbeam Radio. I'll see you next week. Take care.